The autumn air in Willow Creek always carried the smell of pine and the soft ripple of the lake at night. On the surface, the lakeside town was the kind of place where everyone left their doors unlocked and neighbors waved when they passed on the street. But in early October of 2019, that sense of peace shattered overnight. 19-year-old Emily Carter didn't come home from her evening jog. She was the kind of girl everyone in town knew, bright smile, varsity track star, someone who never missed curfew. When she failed to return by 9, her older brother, Ryan, started calling her phone. By 10, he was driving up and down the jogging trail near the lake with a flashlight. At midnight, he called the police. Detective Laura Hayes, a seasoned cop with 12 years on the force, was assigned to the case. She met the Carters at their cedar-shingled house on Pine Road at 2 in the morning. Emily's parents were pale and silent. Ryan was pacing the living room, his fists clenched. At their feet sat Cooper, the family's 5-year-old golden retriever, ears drooped, eyes fixed on the front door as if waiting for Emily to walk in. Laura asked the usual questions, where Emily had been jogging, whether she had any enemies, if she'd been upset lately, but nothing pointed to foul play. The next morning, half the town joined the search, combing the woods by the lake. They found nothing, no torn clothing, no phone, no sign of a struggle. By the third day, rain rolled in, washing away footprints and hope. The lake, which had always looked serene, now appeared dark and endless. Media trucks parked near the Carter home, flashing headlines about the lakeside vanishing. The case was going cold fast. Ryan barely slept. Each night he sat on the porch steps with Cooper beside him, staring into the darkness as if Emily might come walking out of the mist. Cooper, usually a cheerful and playful dog, had grown restless. He would sniff the ground near the porch and whine, then pace along the gravel driveway toward the road leading to the lake. On the 5th night, as Ryan sat outside wrapped in his hoodie, Cooper suddenly stood rigid, ears perked, staring down the road. A moment later he barked, a sharp, urgent bark Ryan hadn't heard before, and took off running toward the woods. "Cooper! Get back here!" Ryan shouted, grabbing a flashlight and chasing after him. The dog didn't stop. He darted through the wet grass, past the wooden fence, and onto the narrow trail that curved along the lake. The flashlight beam trembled as Ryan tried to keep up. About 100 yards into the trail, Cooper stopped and began sniffing the ground furiously near a cluster of cattails. He pawed at the muddy earth, then whined and looked back at Ryan. Ryan's heart pounded. He saw nothing unusual at first, just weeds and wet soil, but the dog wouldn't move. His pawing grew frantic, digging into the mud. Ryan knelt down and brushed away the reeds. That's when the beam of his flashlight caught something small and metallic, a single silver charm bracelet. It was Emily's. Ryan's throat tightened as he picked it up. He rushed back to the house, called Detective Hayes, and within the hour, police officers were on the trail with floodlights and dogs of their own. But the area revealed nothing else, no footprints, no blood, no more clues. Laura bagged the bracelet as evidence and consoled the Carters, but privately she feared it was simply a lost trinket. The following night, Cooper started acting up again. This time, while Ryan sat on the porch step staring at the lake's reflection of the moon, Cooper growled low in his throat, something he almost never did. His gaze was fixed on the far dock across the water, where the lake was swallowed by darkness. Ryan frowned. "What is it, boy?" Cooper stood, barked once, and then ran toward the driveway. He stopped, looked back at Ryan, and barked again as if commanding him to follow. Ryan grabbed his flashlight and a jacket. All right, I'm coming." The dog led him down the same trail but veered left this time, toward the old boathouse that had been abandoned for years. The structure sat crooked on its stilts, the wood weathered gray by years of storms. As they approached, Cooper slowed, sniffing the air, then crept toward the gap under the deck. He whimpered and scratched at the rotting boards. Ryan crouched and shined his light under the deck, but all he could see was black water. Then something pale and frayed caught the beam, a scrap of fabric snagged on a nail. He pulled it out carefully. It was a torn piece of a neon running jacket. Emily had been wearing one that night. Shaken, Ryan dialed Detective Hayes. Within half an hour, the detective arrived with another officer. They roped off the area and called in divers at dawn. Cooper sat nearby the whole time, tail still and ears forward, watching every move as though he understood what was happening. The divers searched beneath the dock for hours, but the water was murky from recent rain. At noon, they came up empty-handed. Laura thanked Ryan and gave Cooper a gentle pat, but as she turned to leave, Cooper barked sharply at the dock again, startling everyone. Then he moved to the right corner post, pawing at the damp wood. Laura crouched beside him. "What are you trying to tell us, boy?" On impulse, she had one of the divers check that specific corner. Moments later, the diver surfaced holding a mud-covered gym bag. Inside, they found Emily's cell phone, cracked but still intact, along with a set of car keys and a water bottle, everything she had taken on her jog. The discovery turned the search into a criminal investigation. The phone was rushed to the lab. The data revealed one last text sent at 8:47 p.m. the night she vanished, a single word, "help," sent to Ryan but never delivered due to poor reception near the lake. With the search area now focused near the boathouse, cadaver dogs were brought in, but heavy rains had diluted any scent. Days passed, the leads dried up, and once again, the case stalled. Through it all, Cooper continued to linger by the dock whenever Ryan brought him on walks. Sometimes at night he would sit there, ears perked toward the woods as if hearing something no one else could. 1 week later, a break came, not from evidence, but from Cooper's relentless behavior. That Saturday evening, as a storm brewed over the lake, Cooper began barking inside the house. He ran in circles, scratched at the door, and then sat whining at Ryan's feet. Ryan sighed. "You want to go out in this weather?" The wind howled outside, rattling the windows. But the dog's insistence worried him. He grabbed his raincoat and flashlight, clipped on Cooper's leash, and stepped into the storm. Instead of leading him to the dock, Cooper tugged toward the forested hill behind the boathouse, an area steep and overgrown that search parties hadn't fully scoured because of unstable ground. Ryan struggled up the muddy slope, rain soaking his clothes. Branches whipped his face as he followed the dog deeper into the woods. Suddenly Cooper stopped, nose to the ground, sniffing hard at a patch of earth near a fallen oak tree. He began digging. Ryan's stomach twisted as he watched the dog's paws fling mud aside. After a few inches, something pale emerged, something that wasn't a rock or root. Ryan's breath caught. He staggered back, pulled out his phone with shaking hands, and called Detective Hayes. By the time Laura and her team arrived with floodlights, the rain had eased to a drizzle. They cordoned off the area, letting forensic experts carefully unearth what Cooper had found, a shallow grave. Inside lay Emily. Ryan collapsed to his knees as officers restrained him gently. Cooper whined softly and sat beside Ryan, leaning against him as if to offer comfort. The autopsy later revealed that Emily had been struck on the back of her head with a blunt object before she drowned. The blow had fractured her skull, which meant her death was no accident. Detective Laura Hayes shared the report with Ryan in the station's dimly lit office. Ryan sat frozen, fists clenched, staring at the floor as Cooper lay quietly by his feet, ears twitching as if he sensed the tension. The report deepened the mystery. The spot where Emily's body was found had no sign of a struggle, no blood, no footprints except her own near the waterline. Whoever killed her had either been someone she trusted or someone who knew how to hide their tracks. Laura decided they needed to retrace Emily's last known steps on the night she disappeared. When Laura and Ryan revisited the lakeside trail the next day, Cooper trotted along, sniffing every bush and rock. He pulled gently on his leash toward a spot near a wooden bench, then stopped, whining softly. Laura crouched down, noticing a faint scuff mark on the dirt, too faint for the rain that had fallen that night to wash it away completely. "Good boy, Cooper," Laura murmured. They marked the spot for the forensic team to collect soil samples. That night, Laura dug deeper into Emily's phone records. The last call she made had been to a local number, a neighbor's landline, at around 8:17 p.m., roughly 30 minutes before she vanished. The neighbor was Greg Turner, a 42-year-old man who lived 2 houses down. Greg had been friendly, often helping Emily carry groceries when Ryan was busy. He had also attended the candlelight vigil after her body was found, standing quietly in the back, eyes downcast. Laura decided to question Greg again. When she and Ryan visited his home, Cooper growled the moment Greg opened the door. The man laughed it off, saying dogs never liked him much. But Cooper's hair bristled along his back, and he refused to step closer. Ryan found this odd. Cooper was usually gentle with everyone. Greg claimed he hadn't spoken to Emily that evening, even though her call log showed otherwise. She probably misdialed, he said, shrugging. Laura noticed a bruise on Greg's right forearm, which he dismissed as a work injury from carrying firewood. Something about his tone felt off, too rehearsed. Later, Laura requested CCTV footage from the gas station near the trail's entrance. At 8:45 p.m., the grainy video captured a man walking hurriedly toward the woods. The image wasn't clear enough to confirm his identity, but Laura noted the man's limp. He favored his left leg. Greg, she remembered, had a slight limp from an old knee injury. Back at home that night, Ryan struggled to sleep, haunted by Cooper's growl at Greg's door. Around midnight, Cooper started barking near the front window, facing the street. Ryan stepped outside and noticed Greg's pickup truck parked further down the road by the lakeside, headlights off. Ryan called Laura immediately. By the time Laura arrived with a patrol unit, the truck was gone, but they searched the area anyway. Cooper sniffed the ground near a pile of stones and started digging furiously, unearthing a torn piece of fabric, dark green, damp and partly buried in the soil. Laura carefully collected it as evidence. The color matched Greg's heavy work jacket. Forensic tests later confirmed that the fabric had Emily's blood on it. Laura obtained a warrant and searched Greg's property. In his garage, behind a stack of old tires, they found a small wooden bat with traces of dried blood. The DNA matched Emily's. When confronted, Greg first denied everything, then broke down. He admitted that Emily had confronted him the night she died. She had seen him loitering near the trail and asked what he was doing. An argument escalated when he made unwanted advances. Emily tried to leave, and in a moment of rage, he struck her with the bat. Panicking, he dragged her to the lakeside to stage it as an accidental drowning. Greg was arrested on charges of murder and obstruction of justice. In court, the prosecutor emphasized the turning points, the scuff marks on the trail, the CCTV footage, the torn fabric, and most unexpectedly, the dog who wouldn't stop barking at the killer's hiding places. Cooper sat quietly in the front row during the trial, his presence reminding everyone of Emily's final night. Ryan stood outside the courthouse after the sentencing, looking down at Cooper. "We couldn't have done it without you, buddy," he said softly, scratching behind the dog's ear. Cooper wagged his tail, but his eyes lingered on the lake in the distance, as if remembering the friend they had lost. Laura closed the case file weeks later, writing in her notes that sometimes, the most important witness isn't human at all, but one who refuses to let the truth stay buried.